With that being said, at this time I want to welcome to the podium the 2018 Indiana All-Star coach, future Hall of Fame basketball coach, New Albany High School head coach, Jim Shannon.
Thank you very much. What an incredible blessed day for the Langford family, the New Albany basketball family, and the greatest high school fans in the entire United States. Romeo Langford, born October 25th, 1999, to Tim and Sabrina Langford. He has two sisters, Tisha and Tiffany, who you've already met. Romeo is shy, but he blends in at school. He's caring, he's humorous. He does not seek the spotlight, but the spotlight seeks him. He is this generation's Oscar Robertson or Damon Bailey. Romeo is a McDonald's All-American, and as of last night, he's our first Indiana Mr. Basketball. I can still see him at kindergarten, first grade Bulldog basketball camp at Mount Tabor. Even then, he stuck out as much as any 6-year-old can. By the 4th or 5th grade, I was taking him to the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star game in Indianapolis, telling him I thought someday he could be playing in that game. By the time he started playing for us in the summer between his 8th and 9th grade year, I told him he could be special. He was arguably the best player on the floor no matter who we played. We talked about him leading us to a state championship, being an Indiana All-Star, and being Mr. Basketball. Check, check, and check. In his first season at New Albany High School, I asked him what number he wanted. He wanted 22, but an upperclassman already had that number, and we don't ever ask an upperclassman to give up his number. Romeo was not upset by this at all, so I spun it the only natural way I knew how. I said, "Hey, Ro, why don't you just be number 1, because you're going to be the best player in your class. You might as well wear the number you're going to wear on the Indiana All-Star team your senior year." I could go on for hours about this young man, but tonight is Romeo's night, so we're going to get to Romeo. But before we go, I would like to share with you something no one else knows. On behalf of New Albany High School basketball, Mr. Unruh and I would like to announce that no one in the boys basketball program here at NAHS will ever wear the number 1 jersey again. Romeo's number will be retired, and we will officially retire it at one of our home games next year, and we will have it up there. That number will be retired. Romeo, you're the greatest basketball player I have ever coached. You're the greatest basketball player I've ever seen, but you're a better person. To Romeo and his entire family, this is your home. And no matter where you go in life, this will always be your home. God bless New Albany High School, God bless you fans, and God bless Romeo and the entire Langford family. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the Langford family minister from New Birth Ministry Center in Louisville, Pastor Mike Ward.
Any dogs in the house? What about this side? Any dogs in the house? What about together? Any bulldogs in the house? That's what I'm talking about. I'm Mike Ward, the family minister, and it's quite a privilege to be standing here on this platform for this celebration. The book of Ecclesiastes tells us that it's a time to dance and joy at certain times, and I believe this is one of those days. It's time to celebrate. What about you? Well, I'm just going to be a few minutes. They asked me to speak just for a few moments, and I wanted to talk just a minute about the young man Romeo. I believe that there's a vital characteristic that all of us have been able to pinpoint in this young man's life, and it's just simply good old-fashioned character. That's what it is. Good old-fashioned character. My wife and I, we moved to New Albany, I guess it's been about 10 years ago, and she frequents the gym, the YMCA downtown, and she often hears the conversation, especially about New Albany basketball. And she overheard a couple of gentlemen speaking, and they were talking about Romeo, and he scored all of these points, and they were just marveled over what he did. And my wife said, but what struck her was one of the young men said this: yeah, but after that game, I know he had to be tired, but he stayed about an hour after to sign autographs, and then he was so patient with the children. And the guy said this: he's a fine young man with great character. Now, when my wife said this, I said to myself, yeah, good, because that's the real Romeo. That's the Romeo we know. That's the Romeo I've been knowing since he's been 2 or 3 years old. This quiet, gentle giant, so to speak. Around the church, he'll open the door for old women when they're coming in and out of the church. He opens the door, and he's real quiet, and he kind of hangs out in the atrium. And that church, he's not really a star. He's just Romeo. And because, of course, we watched him grow up. But character is so important, and this is what I preach at the church. This is what I preach to Romeo. I preached it to Tisha. I preached it to Tiffany for years. They started off at New Birth Church when they were 3 and 5 and 6 years old in the youth ministry. These are things that I think you should know about Romeo. We rah-rah a lot about the person, and sometimes we don't know much about that person. So I want to take about 5 minutes and give you a little backdrop on Romeo. Just a little bit, because the family is kind of private, and I might get in trouble afterwards. But Romeo, it's kind of like Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln said this. He said, character is a tree, and reputation is like the shadow. In other words, reputation is what people think you are, but the tree is the real deal. And I want to talk about the tree for a moment. You know, it took a lot to birth this tree, this young sapling, into a young tree. A lot of character traits that were developed along the way. First of all, we can talk about his teachers. We know that some of his teachers are probably here today, from preschool all the way up through high school, and we want to celebrate teachers because they helped in his development, right? Let's celebrate teachers. I was a Jefferson County public school teacher for several years myself. Make sure, Romeo, you give your teachers apples on next Tuesday. It's Teacher Appreciation Day. This whole school should smell like an orchard, right? Secondly, coaches. How many of you remember Noe Castillo? I don't know how many of you remember. Great basketball player, right? Well, that was one of Romeo's coaches. And we know Noe was a great man of character. I taught school with his mom, Barbara. And so I knew Noe growing up also. And so Coach Shannon and his staff, they did a tremendous job in working with him over the past 4 years. Let's give it up for them one more time. Tremendous job. Coach Shannon at the basketball banquet Thursday night, he kept highlighting this phrase, and he kept saying, listen, we want the boys to be good on the court, but we want them to be better people. He kept saying, I want them to be better people. When we talk in private, he says, I want them to be better people. And so we know that the coaches had a fine job in developing his character. But this next piece that I'm going to speak about is the most vital part of building character in any young person. It's called family. Family is the key. Tim, the dad, Sabrina, mom, Tisha, sister, Tiffany, the other sister. all of them have poured into their younger brother, Romeo. And so what you see, this character spewing out from Romeo, it's character development, and it's still ongoing. His family, it was really interesting to see them in Atlanta after the McDonald's game. They were all in kind of a green room with all of the other players and their families, Zion and all those other guys. And to see Romeo's family members come from all across the United States, and they were in the room, they were hugging, they were kissing, and it was compassionate. And I thought to myself, man, I wish the networks were here to pick this up, because this is a true reflection of an African-American family. Not that stuff y'all see on TV. His grandfather, he has strong roots in his culture. His grandfather, Dr. Harry Pearson. Dr. Pearson, many of you don't know it, was a civil rights activist. And he poured into his family before he passed away. One time we were sitting at the table, they were at my house, and we were eating, and he was telling me about a lot of the wonderful things they did in Chicago. And told me about the time when he, Jesse Jackson, Dr. Martin Luther King, and some of the other civil rights activists were at the table, and they were speaking about how they were going to further the cause of civil rights. And Romeo listened to all of this stuff. He was just a young kid running around the table, and his grandfather would impress upon him the importance of being African American and his culture, and how he has to represent African Americans very well in whatever he decided to do in life. And I think he's doing pretty well at that. What about you? In my conclusion, at the beginning of this school year, I had a group of young people, very talented young people I was speaking to in the room. Matter of fact, one of them is graduating this next week as summa cum laude at Western Kentucky out of the political science department. But Romeo was there. Tiffany was there at church, and Tisha, I'm not sure if you were there. I can't keep up with her. She's in and out so much. But they were there, and I told them, I said, if you don't remember anything else that I shared with you over the years I've been with you as your pastor, remember this. Talent can take you places where your character can't keep you. In other words, I was telling them this. If your talents and your gifts push you up to high heights, well, your character needs to be developed to match up with that gifting, or else you're going to crash and you're going to burn. And I said, tweet that, Facebook that. Your talent can take you to places where your character can't keep you. And so in my close, I want to say this. Listen, let's develop all of our young people into great citizens with great character. Yes, sometimes they don't act the way we'd like for them to act, and they're young and they're foolish at times, but Proverbs 22:6 says this, train up a child in the way he should go, for when he gets old, he won't depart from the things that you taught him. And so they might be young, they slip, they fall, but as they grow older, they will learn to depend upon the things you've taught them. And Romeo, I have to say this, thank God for your talent. You used it in a wonderful, positive way. You have blessed a lot of people, and continue to develop your character, because you're going to go to high heights and deeper depths, all right? And let God handle the rest. Help me with this chair. Give me a C, H, A, R, A, C, T, E, R, character.
Outstanding, Pastor Ward. Thank you for sharing. How about another round of applause for Pastor Ward? At this time, we have a video to share, so I hope everyone enjoys.
inside. He's double teamed, but he beats both of them. Puts up a double pump shot, puts it in. He's on the fast break, one on everybody. Romeo pulls up from 5, he hit it. Everybody on their feet, 8 seconds. Romeo beats through everybody, lays it up, in! Romeo with 13, 35-32.
What inspired the name Romeo? I can't say that it was an inspiration.
Well, it really came from me. I'm like, I wanted Valentino, and my wife said, no, ain't no Valentino gonna be in the house.
Oh, no, we're not naming him Valentino. Then coming back later and saying, what about Romeo? Well, I can do Romeo, that sounds good. So when he played basketball, all I seen was my child out there playing basketball and just having the time of his life. And one day, a friend of ours, came to me with tears in her eyes and said, he's gonna be great. And at that moment, I thought, she's crazy, what's wrong with her, But then I started watching it, and then I started seeing what she was actually seeing in him. And that was probably in the 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade maybe.
Like so many other kids in Indiana high school basketball, there was word, hey, there's a kid coming at New Albany, this kid's gonna be really good. You hear that in a lot of communities, a lot of different places. You meet it with some skepticism sometimes and doesn't always live up to the billing. In Romeo's case, I saw him play the 4th game of his high school career as a freshman. And you could tell right away that this was someone special and this was going to be something special. Maybe not to the level it ended up being, but you knew right away the way the kid played, the way the kid handled himself, the way the crowds in New Albany were gathering, that something was brewing. This was going to be special, and it lived up to all of that.
Well, I think when you talk about Romeo as a generational type player, it's not only his ability on the court, but the New Albany fans, the 3,200 season ticket holders, the crowds on the road, the kids getting his autographed after games for an hour at a time. So I think that all of that is kind of factored in to make him that once in a generational type of a basketball player in a state that loves basketball. He's been that guy for the last 4 years.
Romeo's a generational player because he attracts people from all over the state. Certainly here in New Albany, that's where he has most of his following, but we get people from all over the state, sometimes out of state, that come and watch him play. So I think that he resonates with everybody, not just our community.
I think a part of the uniqueness of Romeo Mania is that he's in New Albany, and you have to start there. They have a passionate fan base. They have a really strong history in that community. They support their teams, win, lose, or draw. And so I think playing in that school, in that community, was a basis for expectations, for fan excitement, for ticket sales. And then from there, with the wins, with the points scored, with the state championship, the interest grew from there.
Well, Romeo has so much to his game. He can hit the deep three, and I mean NBA three. He can take it to the basket. He can give you highlight films on dunks. I mean, he can do all those things, and then I think people really enjoy him and love him because he's not a showboat. He doesn't thump his chest or signal that he made a three. Every time he does something spectacular, it's like he's done it 100 times. And you can't tell if he just missed a three, made a dunk, threw a bad pass, or anything like that, because you just can't, his demeanor does not change. He's very poised. Well, the team does come first, and that just will come off Romeo's own lips. I mean, that's what he's always said, so we don't have to worry about the points, him scoring a bunch of points and him getting any records, because he doesn't care about that. And so his teammates only feed him the ball if he's in the zone. If he's in the zone, we're going to get it to him. And he's had some games where it's like, you might as well go and get it to him because he's going to make every shot he's going to take. So there are times when we'll do that, but there's other times when he'll share it with the other kids, especially if we're ahead. He's just never been all that, he's never been all that enthralled about the scoring thing.
I was never chasing Damon Bailey. It just kind of happened. Just kind of got up there in points, and then my senior year, people started noticing that I had a chance of catching him, but it really was never one of my goals to be the all-time leading scorer in the state, but it would have been a nice achievement to accomplish.
It's a little bit tough to compare Damon Bailey's experience to Romeo, especially now that Romeo's playing in the social media era. Obviously, Damon Bailey drew large crowds, was written about in newspapers and national publications, but now with Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, everything else, I think the expectations of Romeo and any chance for him to slip up, screw up, misbehave, being amplified greatly. I think that further tells the story of what a great kid he is and what a great player he's been, to sign autographs, to pose for photos, and to deal with all of the college speculation through social media outlets. He's handled it immaculately.
You know, it was when we were going to Seymour or Jeffersonville or Indy or wherever it is that we're playing that the hoopla, you know, kind of exploded, or, you know, the people that obviously you didn't see on a consistent basis, you know, were coming out of the woodwork, so to speak.
New Albany's always been crazy about its basketball. It's always embraced it. Every year I've been here, and I've been here 20 years, it embraced its basketball before I came. But this Romeo mania has been different. There's no question about that. We've had more and more people jump on our bandwagon, and we certainly have thousands and thousands of followers.
How have we handled the media attention? It's a part of it. That's the only way I know how to put it. It's just a part of it right now.
Well, the whole recruiting process is very time-consuming, but it's something that you expect. And Romeo and his family have been well-grounded throughout the whole thing, and all I've been around to do is facilitate that situation, and it's never become a burden for us at all. We've just worked around it as best we can, and, you know, made it a part of our whole package here as far as New Albany basketball is concerned. We know we're always going to have Division I coaches around, and we're okay with that.
Me as a father, as a leader, and the man up above, you know what I mean? And we just kind of just taking it all as it comes, you know what I mean? So the type of family we are is what you see in Romeo, you know what I mean? We don't get overexcited or, you know, let nothing really, you know, overwhelm us, you know what I mean? So dealing with a lot of college coaches, you know, I pretty much handled all of them until we got down to 3. I really didn't let them contact him directly. I know me personally thinking that all these coaches in this year, that, you know, all during the week, all during the night would be a distraction. So we just kind of maintain, you know, everything as a family. And then as Romeo, we don't really talk about the colleges every night to him about these type of things.
Wherever school I pick, I'm gonna have a good education because they're all real rich in their education aspect of the school. But like the main focus, like relationship with the coach, how my parents and I felt like our relationship was with them, how we felt like they would treat me as their own if I was to go to the campus. And then like cutting down my list to 3, the main thing I was really focused on was just if I could see myself in their offense and their coaching style, if I could succeed in there.
I don't believe it. It wasn't challenging. It was interesting. I loved it. Just getting to know some of these coaches that you've watched on TV and getting to know their personalities, going to the different schools and seeing those up close. It's not a challenging thing. It's just an adventure. It's just an adventure. And where it's going to lead us, we're going to find out here soon.
For Romeo, the best is yet to come.
Okay, our next speaker, before I bring him to the podium, on behalf of New Albany High School, and I think I speak again for all the fans, we want to personally thank the Langford family for choosing New Albany High School as the venue to make this announcement this evening. As Coach Shannon said, it is home. At this time, please welcome Mr. Tim Langford.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Give yourself a hand. I want to thank Mr. Unruh for allowing us to have this special event tonight, along with Coach Shannon at the New Albany High School. I also want to thank the cheerleaders for taking their time to come, the band members for taking their time to come, and also our pastor, Pastor Ward. Give a hand, please. I also want to take the time to acknowledge some of Romeo's trainers that helped them along the way. We got Dion Lee. Will you please stand, sir? We also got Brian Figg. Would you stand, sir? And we got a close family member, Jonathan Gente. Would you stand, sir? And also, I want to thank the fans for showing up tonight. Give yourself a hand again. I've been asked why, we having this, in the high school and why we're doing it this way. I believe in doing it my way. Do it your own way, not nobody else's way. I could have easily, we could have easily put it on a video or went social media, the easy way out. No, we didn't want to do that. I mentioned one time, let's do it on the river, but Romeo said, no, Dad, we can't do that. We could have easily did it at home, but with this crowd right here, I don't think everybody could have had a parking spot, so we didn't do that. So, but we wanted to take the time and do something special for the fans who've been supporting him all 4 years in his high school career. So that's why we decided to do it at the high school. As we all know, we got 3 universities left: Kansas, Vanderbilt, and Indiana. Before we get to that, I want to take time and talk a little bit about my son. I hear some people sometimes, I don't get into that social media thing, but sometimes you hear it, you can't, ignore it. I hear they say, he haven't played against anyone. He haven't played against nobody. My thing is, have you watched the 2 ESPN games that he played? Let me know. Give me some. Okay? Also, I hear, he's not tough enough. I'll tell you something. You show me somebody in the country that have 2 or 3 players on them from the last 2 years, and what he has done on that court, maintain his character, as you may all know, you show it to me. The university that my son had chose, we actually sit down as a family and we talked about it. And it's his ultimate decision. People ask us why it took so long, to come up to the decision. It was never a hurry. It's all about patience and making the right decisions, because it's a very important decision in his life. And I want him to make that decision. We sit down as a family. Yeah, I had some teams that, my favorite, my wife had, and his sister also had some favorite. But the bottom line, it was Romeo. And when I asked Romeo about the school he picked, I said, tell me why you picked that school. And when he told me why he picked the school, man, I'm telling you, my son knows basketball. That's all I can tell you. So tonight, I'm not going to take up too much time. I want to know, how many Vanderbilt fans do we have in the house? All right, you got one in the house. Okay, that's a good sign. How many IU fans we have in the house? Okay, Vanderbilt, you outnumber 10-1. How many Kansas fans we have in the house? Okay. All right, Vanderbilt, Kansas, tied at 1. That's a good sign. That's a good sign, a real good sign. But what I would like to know, how many Romeo Langford fans we have in the house? I can't hear you. You should be on your feet. I can't hear you. Okay. Now let's go back a little bit. We doing this here because, like I said, because of the fans. Not because who want Romeo to go, what place they want him to go for his college. It's not about that. It's not about that. I'm gonna let you know as the father. The decision he made is what he made and what he wanted to do. So I hope everybody's fine with his decision, because at the end of the day, he gonna have his family. Family got his back. So I'm not going to take up too much of the time. I want to thank everybody once again for coming out tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce my son, Mr. Basketball, Romeo Langford.
Good evening. I would like to thank everyone in attendance for coming out tonight to share this special moment with me and my family. I want to first thank God for allowing me to play the game I love. Without him, none of this would be possible. I want to give a special thanks to my parents. I appreciate all your love and support and guidance through the years. To my mom for always being there for me, supporting me and helping me grow as a young man. To my dad for always pushing me to be the best each and every day and for always having my back. I also want to thank and acknowledge my sisters, Tisha and Tiffany. I couldn't have asked for two better siblings. I want to thank Coach Shannon, the coaching staff, my teammates, and the administration of Norman High School for helping me grow on the court and in the classroom. To the fans, the best fans in the state, who have always supported me through this years and on my journey. Next, to all the coaches and trainers I've had throughout the years who have helped me develop my game. I especially want to thank Coach Dion for helping me grow as a basketball player and a person and pushing me to be great. Lastly, I want to thank all the coaches who have recruited me and saw something in me and wanted me to be a part of their great programs. With that being said, I will continue my education and basketball career at Indiana University.
About Indiana that led you to go to the Hoosiers?
Just really been my family, sat down and talked about it. I felt like that was the best choice for me, best fit. I like the way they play, and I felt like I can showcase my game the best there.
What do you feel like you'd be a good fit at IU?
Yeah, I feel like we'll be a good fit. I feel like I can do the things that they're missing to be a successful team.
You talked a lot about evaluating different coaches through the process. What was it maybe in watching Archie Miller coach his team, interact with his players that really stood out?
I mean, he didn't have the best of team as he did last year being his first season. I felt like he got the best out of him, got him up for big games, got him to play defense, and I just felt like his development with his coaching staff and him as a coach, it was one of the best.
When did you know that you were going to go to IU?
Last week.
What was it just how hard did you think about the decision? What made you finally reach that decision that you knew IU was the spot?
I don't know, I just sat down and I knew my time. I had to make a decision sooner or later, and I just thought of everything, put every factors into place, and I just felt like that was the best fit for me.
Once you made that decision, how did you feel once you knew where you were going to go?
I felt good. Something else I didn't have to worry about. I just felt good. Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to playing for Archie Miller?
I'm just ready to get to work. Ready to get in the gym, get better, and just see what he has in store for me.
What was it like when you told him that you were coming? Have you talked to him yet?
No, I haven't told him yet. No.
How do you expect that phone call?
Yeah, he found out by watching this. Yes, sir.
And what swayed it for Indiana?
I just thought about everything like coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, every factor. I just felt like Indiana was the best fit. Coach Schilling, his individual development, that's what set it apart. His individual development, how the players he developed while he was at UCLA going to the NBA, and that's really what set it apart.
You know what Indiana means, basketball means to this state. What does it mean to put on that jersey as a Mr. Basketball for the state and then go play it out?
It means a lot. Indiana's basketball state, and me being Mr. Basketball, I know that they were looking forward to it, and there hasn't been that many Mr. Basketballs to go to Indiana, so I just can't wait to get there and play in City Hall.
Are you a little bit nervous about fulfilling the expectations of this place? I mean, what people expect you to do there?
No, not at all. I know with these fans, they were going to love me for whoever school I chose, so I really wasn't worried about their expectations because they were going to like me the way.
Describe that development you have with Archie Miller. He's only been there for 2 years. How was he able to kind of get on your radar?
Did you get any?
I mean, his work spoke for itself, just the work he put in with the team he had last year and how he got them ready, how he developed them for the big games, and it just spoke for itself.
Are we good?
We're good.
Archie Miller came in like the Indiana coach. How tough was it for him to catch up when all these other people have been recruiting you for 4 years?
It wasn't tough at all. He did a good job at it, obviously. But it just, like I said, like his work spoke for itself. He went in there and showed that he can be a good coach and develop any players at any skill level.
How important is it for you to stay in the state of Indiana and play basketball in the state of Indiana for college?
I mean, it really wasn't that important. I really didn't look too much of it as my decision as that. But I know it's a real big deal, and I know fans are gonna love it.
How tough was it to tell Vanderbilt and Kansas you weren't coming?
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't tough at all. Both of those schools are still gonna love. Tell me that they're gonna support me, and no matter if I did choose a school.
How about your friend Darius Garland?
He's my friend. He supported me all the way. It's more than just basketball. We're brothers.
With as much as you put into studying all these teams, what do you look forward to next year with what IU has coming in besides yourself and what they have coming back?
I'm just looking forward to get there in the summer and get to work. I feel like we have the pieces and we're good enough to win a national championship.
Simple question: why IU?
Why? Yeah. I just felt like that was the place for me. The right fit on and off the court.
Romeo, when did you?
What did Archie Miller do to convince you to commit to Indiana?
I really didn't do enough to convince and had to convince myself. I just used the stuff that they told me. Use all the stuff all the colleges told me, and I just put them in perspective and chose the best one for me.
Your dad said it was important to make the decision here as kind of a thank you to the fans who've been so supportive. How many of these fans are going to carry with you into an Indiana career and see them pack Assembly Hall? What's that going to mean to you?
It's going to be a lot. I mean, I know I was going to have wherever school I was going to have all my fans there for me because they're not just the Romeo fans, they're not just Indiana fans. So it's going to mean a lot to me just be able to play in front of my hometown fans.
You've won a state title. You've won Mr. Basketball. What's your goal at the college level?
Win a national championship.
When did you make up your mind for sure that you were going to be an Indiana Hoosier?
Sometime last week.
Last week?
Yes, sir.
How tough was that? Was that were they all 1, 2, 3? Was it that easy, or did Indiana they part that out in front?
It wasn't easy. I mean, if it was easy, I probably would have committed earlier. But I'm glad I made the decision.
How glad are you for the fact that no one has to ask you where you're going to go anymore?
I'm glad. I'm pretty happy.
Is this having this over, having this decision out there, is it more of a relief for you at this point?
Yeah, it's more of a relief. Now everybody knows where I'm going. That's less question I got to be asked. So I'm just happy now.
You were at Assembly Hall last year for Hoosier Hysteria, and they embraced you and loved you. How forward are you looking to going to see having those 17,000 people every night when you play?
Can you repeat that?
You've been up there for Hoosier Hysteria, so you know how much they've embraced you. And here in New Albany, they did as well. But you're going to have 17,000 just loving you every night. How forward are you looking to that?
I'm looking forward to that. So just be like playing back in New Albany.
What were the big things that made Indiana the place for you as far as Miller himself and Shillman that you're talking about? What were the big things?
It was exactly those two. Coach Miller, and as a coach, and then Coach Shillman. I just felt like his development and his resume of the people he's developed, and since he's been at UCLA, it just spoke for itself, and I felt like I couldn't get that anywhere else.
Was there a moment, you said last week sometime, do you remember that moment when you said, all right, this is it, I've got it locked in? Where were you?
In my bedroom. Yeah.
Were you really debating them all in your mind at that point, Steve?
Yeah, I know how to make a decision, and I just finally just told myself where I felt like it was going to be best for me. You know, it was Indiana.
How were you able to keep it a secret so long? Because usually something leaks.
It was easy. I mean, no one knew.
You didn't tell anybody except your dad or anyone?
Nah, I was the only person I knew for a while. I didn't tell my parents and family until like 2 or 3 days, 4 days ago, something like that. So.
Why did you want to wait so long to make this decision, or one of the last players in the country to make a decision?
I just want to make sure I made the right decision, because I know I'm going to be living there, and it's going to dictate, not necessarily dictate, but it's going to help me to get to where I want to be, and that's the NBA. So I had to make sure it was the best decision for me.
Did Coach Miller change things for Indiana?
I mean, I can't say, because I did like Coach Tom Crean. He was a real good coach. My family liked him, so I really can't say if he changed or not.
Did Coach Miller know? Did you tell him?
No, not yet.
So he's watching this one.
Yes, sir.
Has he texted you yet?
I don't know. I haven't looked at my phone.
So you're a quiet, unassuming kind of kid. What did you think of this whole evening?
It was pretty cool.
A little overwhelming?
I mean, not really. I'm kind of used to my fans now. That's how they are. They love us. They love me, New Orleans basketball. So